Everyone knows his name. But what few truly understand is that Einstein's mind was not only driven by numbers and formulas. It was also haunted by silence, haunted by mystery, haunted by a kind of sacred disquiet. From the outside, he was the embodiment of science, a man who made the universe more knowable. But in private, he was a man constantly reminded of how much we still don't know. This story is not about equations. It's not about relativity. It's about the vast inner space he navigated, the same way astronomers navigate stars. It's about what Einstein really believed when the lecture halls were empty and the chalk was down. His childhood was the first place this mystery took root. As a boy, Einstein experienced something that stayed with him for life. He was 5 years old when his father gave him a compass. It seemed simple, a needle suspended on a pin. But to young Albert, it was a revelation. No matter how he turned it, the needle pointed north. Something invisible, something he couldn't touch or see, was acting on it. That experience filled him with a kind of quiet terror, the realization that there are forces in this world we cannot see, yet they move everything. It wasn't long before he rejected religion. As a child, he attended Catholic school and learned Jewish prayers at home. He even became devout for a time, fascinated by sacred rituals. But by the age of 12, he had read enough popular science to grow skeptical. He began to question the stories he'd been told about creation, miracles, divine punishment. To him, they seemed not just improbable, but unnecessary. Nature, he believed, was enough. Its structure, its lawfulness, its quiet precision, all of it spoke more clearly than any prophet. But that didn't make him a materialist. Not truly. What replaced his childhood belief was not indifference. It was a different kind of reverence. He didn't turn away from wonder. He just redirected it. Instead of prayer, he turned to geometry. Instead of dogma, to logic. And yet, the spiritual hunger remained. His life became a long, slow meditation on something he never named, a mystery that lived between the numbers. As Einstein grew older, he became less certain, not more. Fame surrounded him, but he never stopped asking questions that had no answers. Why is there something rather than nothing? Why do the laws of nature take the form they do? Why can the human mind, shaped by evolution for survival, comprehend the deep structure of a cosmos? These weren't scientific questions. They were existential ones. They gnawed at him. He didn't pretend to know, but he suspected that behind the cold logic of physics, there was a deeper logic, one that could not be reduced to symbols. In private letters, conversations with friends, and moments of solitude, he often returned to this mystery. He never called it God in the traditional sense, but he used the word nonetheless. Not because he believed in a divine being who intervened in events, but because no other word seemed to capture the magnitude of what he felt. He believed that the universe was structured, rational, elegant, and that this structure pointed to something eternal, even if it was impersonal. Some called him a pantheist, others a deist. But these labels always seemed too narrow. He didn't believe in a creator who built the world and walked away. Nor did he believe in a presence that listened to prayers or judged the dead. What he believed in was deeper, a kind of cosmic unity, a lawfulness so vast and so perfect that it transcended human thought. And to him, that was sacred. He often said he was religious in the sense that he felt awe. Standing beneath the night sky, running equations through his mind, he would feel the presence of something greater, not a being, but a truth. Something so far beyond us that all we can do is listen for its echo in the patterns of nature. For Einstein, that echo was the language of mathematics. And yet, even mathematics could not answer everything. As quantum mechanics emerged, Einstein found himself at odds with its implications. He resisted the idea that the universe could be fundamentally probabilistic. He believed in causality, in order. The idea that particles could exist in multiple states until observed disturbed him deeply. It wasn't just a scientific objection, it was a philosophical one. It challenged his faith in a rational cosmos. This wasn't stubbornness. It was devotion. He had spent his life uncovering a universe that made sense. The idea that chance, not necessity, ruled the smallest levels of reality felt like a betrayal. He debated endlessly with colleagues like Niels Bohr. And though he eventually accepted that quantum mechanics worked, he never believed it was the final word. He suspected there were deeper layers yet to be uncovered. Layers where the randomness of quantum events gave way to a more profound coherence. These weren't just technical debates. They were reflections of a deeper conflict between a universe that could be measured and one that could be understood. Einstein didn't just want to describe the world. He wanted to understand why it was the way it was. And that meant confronting the possibility that understanding might have limits. He wrestled with this. He admired the beauty of the universe, but feared its silence. He once said that the eternal mystery of the world is its comprehensibility, that our minds, forged by evolution, could map out the deep architecture of reality. He never took that for granted. To him, it was a miracle, not supernatural, but no less staggering. As he grew older, he became even more reflective. He read Spinoza, admired the serenity of Buddhist thought, studied ancient philosophy. He believed that all great minds, scientists, artists, mystics, were reaching toward the same thing, a kind of unity beyond the self. He found in music a similar truth. Playing violin gave him peace. He believed that in melody, as in mathematics, there was a glimpse of something timeless. He also thought deeply about ethics, not as commandments handed down from above, but as principles arising from our shared condition. He believed in compassion, in justice, in kindness, not because they were ordered by God, but because they made sense in a rational, interconnected world. He once said that a person starts to live when they can live outside of themselves, when they feel part of a greater whole. That greater whole was always on his mind. He didn't believe in the immortality of the soul, at least not in a personal way. He thought consciousness was tied to the brain. When the brain ceased, so did the self. But he also believed that we are made of the same matter as stars, that our atoms return to the universe, that, in a sense, we never truly leave. We just change form. Death, for him, was not an end, but a return, a dissolution into the vast order of things. He didn't fear it. He didn't hope for paradise. But he believed there was dignity in becoming once again a part of the silent structure he had studied all his life. And what about free will? He doubted it. He believed that all events, even our thoughts and choices, follow from prior causes. That freedom, as we usually understand it, is an illusion. But he also believed that recognizing this should not lead to despair. Instead, it should deepen our compassion. If people are shaped by causes beyond their control, then judgment becomes cruelty. Understanding becomes mercy. In the last years of his life, Einstein lived simply. He walked, read, played music, thought. He wrote letters to friends, often musing about death, meaning, the future of humanity. He worried about war, about nuclear weapons, about greed and nationalism. But he also believed in hope, in the power of the mind, in the quiet strength of curiosity. He died without ever resolving the mystery he spent his life pursuing. But perhaps that was the point. For Einstein, the journey mattered more than the destination. The act of seeking was sacred in itself. He never claimed to have the final answers. He only asked better questions. In the end, what he believed about God cannot be summarized in a sentence. It was not a creed. It was not a rejection. It was a reverence for what is, a respect for mystery, a love of the knowable and the unknowable. He didn't kneel, but he marveled. He didn't worship, but he listened. And in the stillness, he found something like peace. He looked at the universe and didn't just see particles or probabilities. He saw music, harmony, a structure so vast, so subtle, so intricate that all our ideas of divinity seemed too small by comparison. That was his religion, a cosmic humility, a lifelong love affair with the mystery of being. He didn't find God in a temple or a book. He found it in silence, in light, in the space between thoughts. And maybe, just maybe, that's where truth has always lived.